My name is Joe Perotti, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I want to talk about the importance of meaning and purpose. I want to talk about finding meaning and purpose. I want to talk about creating meaning and purpose. And then there's one other part that I'm going to add at the end of the show. So one proposition of existentialism is that existence precedes essence. So what does that mean? Well, to keep it short and to keep it concise, from an existential point of view, existence precedes essence means that human beings don't actually have any inherent identity or value. I know, it sounds harsh, right? The value and identity of a human being is created by their own actions, their own choices, their willingness to be responsible, and their ability to take on challenges. Therefore, the individual is responsible for finding meaning and purpose in their life. And if you can't find it, then you need to create it. So I know that sounds harsh, but I do think it's very important. As an existentialist, I believe that's one of the most important things that people need. Not only to have a long, fulfilling life, but to be able to be helpful to other human beings as well. Now, what made me want to do this show today is that in the last week, when I was working out early in the morning, I had a friend who was kind of mocking what I was wearing. And I'm going to show it to you. And he had every reason to mock me for wearing it. That's what friends do. I don't have a problem with that. But one of the things I was wearing on one day was it was crocheted, a beanie, I guess you call it. So it looks like this. And the other one I wore was like this. And so at some point he said, I know that there must be a story behind those beanies that you're wearing. And because he knows who I am. So when we had a minute after the workout, I told him the story. And this is the story. I had a client who was living at a senior facility. She was a resident there. And she was very old. And unfortunately, she was very lonely. Her family really didn't visit her anymore. And she really was mostly bedridden. She couldn't really get out of bed. And so that was her existence. But what she liked to do most of her life was to crochet. But she didn't have anybody to crochet anything for. So she would mindlessly crochet things, if that's the right way to say it. Well, I was doing therapy with her, and in knowing that she loves to crochet, I would pay her like $50, and I would send it to her at the facility to crochet things. And she had a bunch of random colors, and so she crocheted this for me. And then she asked what else I, would want. And I said, well, when I was a kid, the first kindergarten project I remember, we were allowed to pick two colors. And I picked magenta for some reason and turquoise. And I did that because I just liked the names of those colors for some reason. And so I picked those, and I did my project with those two colors. And I told her about it, and she ended up ordering turquoise and magenta. And so what I did here was try to do the other part that I'm talking about. I believe that there are people that can't find meaning and purpose in their life anymore, and they can't create meaning and purpose in their life anymore. So I believe that the next step is to try to put people in positions to where they still have meaning and purpose in their life. Give them a little responsibility. Make them feel important because they are. Make them feel seen. Make them feel heard. And in this particular situation, I was trying to have her look forward to crocheting because she actually had a job to do and she was earning money. So that was my way of creating meaning and purpose for her. Now, I know a lot of people say you can't create meaning and purpose for other people, but I tend to very much disagree with that. The other story I want to tell you is about my dog. Now, My dog was named Samurai. He's gone now, but here's a picture of him. Let's see if you can see that. There's Samurai the Chow. Let me tell you a story about him. When he was very old, he died at 16. When he was very old, he had a lot of arthritis and he couldn't walk up the stairs very well anymore. In order to help him, we would pick him up and carry him up the stairs, because if we were upstairs, he would want to be there. Well, one night I went to school, and that was from 6 to 10. It was 4 hours on whatever night it was, and I was there. My girlfriend was upstairs and she was watching TV, and she had brought Sam upstairs, and the door was open in the bedroom, and she placed him next to her feet, which all that makes sense. He wants to be around people, so he enjoyed that. Well, during the night of school, I get a couple of texts, and my girlfriend was saying that Sam, or Samurai, was whining and he was crying, and she was worried that maybe he was experiencing pain, and she asked me, do you think he's in pain? And I said, I don't know, but let's at least try one thing to find out. Now, Samurai's a Chow, so he's a very protective dog, and he takes that job extremely seriously. And so what I thought is that we could take him and turn him towards the opening of the door where he could see down the hallway, because my girlfriend had placed him that Sam was facing her, so he had his back to the doorway, and in doing so he couldn't do his job as a protector, as a guardian, and so it bothered him. So he was crying and whining because he felt like he wasn't doing his job. So it was really interesting when my girlfriend took him and turned him towards the front door, or the opening of the doorway, and so now he was able to see if anybody was going to come into the room. He stopped whining, he stopped crying, and he felt very comfortable. And so what's the moral of the story there? Well, the moral of the story is that even a dog, even in their late stages, if they've gone through their whole life as a guard dog, he still wants to be a guard dog. So just turning his position and allowing him, at least in his mind, to do what he wanted to do, is to be the eyes and to be able to bark if an intruder was coming in, it made him feel comfortable. So it stopped him from whining and crying. Therefore, what happened there? My girlfriend, by turning him, gave him meaning and purpose. And so I think that creating meaning and purpose for other people might be probably in the top 3 things that human beings do to be good people. Now, one of my favorite movies of all time is actually a comedy with Adam Sandler. It's called Happy Gilmore. Now, I know it's a comedy and it doesn't seem like there's anything important going on in that movie, but one of the parts of that movie, amongst others, but one part that I thought was really important is that Adam Sandler is a golfer in this movie. And what he does is he takes this homeless guy and he allows him to be his caddy. And all of a sudden he gives this homeless guy this meaning and purpose, and it gives him joy and fun and all this, and he makes him feel like a real human being. And so what am I trying to say? Let me sum up this show. It's going to be relatively short tonight. Number 1, I do believe in existentialism. We can talk about that in other shows. I definitely believe that in order to be happy, we do have to go out of our way and find meaning and purpose in this world. We have to do that. But it's hard to find for a lot of people, because a lot of people are on the margins. Maybe they don't have enough money to be exposed to a lot of things. Maybe they don't have exposure to a lot of sports. If you're in a certain area of the country, what might you know about ice skating? If you don't have any money, how do you play certain sports? You don't. And so I would say, even, let me give you a quick example. As I'm talking, it came to me. When I first went to my first school at Clara H. Carlson, they didn't have music classes from kindergarten through 2nd grade. When I went to a new school called Prospect School in 3rd grade, they had a limited amount of musical instruments. So you had to pass a class or a test on music in order to be able to earn the right to play an instrument. And of course, I failed. And I failed not because I'm stupid. I failed because I was unprepared. Nobody had ever taught me anything about music. And because I got like a 0 on the test, I was not allowed to ever play a musical instrument, at least in school. And I always felt that I had no ability to play music, and it kind of killed my enthusiasm to ever play an instrument, although I loved music and I always had the thought that maybe one day I would like to play. So in this instance, again, it's fine and good to say that people don't have inherent identity or value unless they create their own meaning and purpose or they find it. But sometimes people are in positions where they can't find it. And so they have to be introduced to it. And so what I'm saying is, I think the third part of this, in other words, the first part would be creating meaning, purpose, and the other part might be finding meaning and purpose. I think the third part would be, is opening up the world, and it starts with each individual, to put people in position to be able to have meaning and purpose, to be able to give them that shot, to be able to give them maybe some responsibility, to be able to have a chance at something. And it's not always about money. It's not always about poor people not being in a position to find meaning and purpose. But it's also other people on the margins. And in this situation, when I was talking about one of my clients at the senior facility, because of her age, there was no way she could create meaning and purpose or find meaning and purpose. So I was the one who gave her some meaning and purpose. And I think that might be something that hopefully as you're listening to this that you might want to consider, is that meaning and purpose is just not something that is an individual fight. I think we can all help people do that by teaching others what we know, and maybe they can expand on that. If you have knowledge of how to do construction, maybe you know how to put up walls, maybe you know how to do plumbing, maybe you know electricity, maybe you know woodwork, something like that, and you can share that with somebody. Maybe they have no interest in it whatsoever and nothing happens. On the other hand, you may have given them the seed to start something to where they can do something for the rest of their life. Maybe just enjoyment, maybe some type of fulfillment, or maybe they can use it to make a good living so they can raise themselves and a family. So I think it's very important that we allow people and we help people to try to find meaning and purpose. So hopefully some of this has been valuable to you. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.